because of positive growth does not mean inclusive growth that employs people. So recession has its other ramifications, which means unemployment, weakness in the financial system, and even psychological trauma that affects the people. These are things that are that states are going to face. But the federal government has 55% of economic, there's fiscal dominance there. But the states have to get the acts together. They have to understand their capacity. They have to understand the resource gap. And more than anything else, they have to have governance. There are major governance breakdowns among the states. State governors are going around with entourages and all, you see them all over the place as if nothing happened. That has to stop. Some states have made those adjustments, and states have to now begin to engage. You can see that in certain states, they are beginning to have investment committees and all that, but they need to create an environment which will allow domestic investors to begin to have an investor-friendly environment. Ogun State is one in particular has a very investor-friendly environment. They engage. They are all over the place trying to ensure that they take advantage of an aggressive investment opportunity that is around here. You have Nestle, everybody is going in there, right? And that has been the case over the past couple of years. They need to continue, and many states have to copy that. Anambra State is dealing with security, dealing with crime, dealing with so many things. People can now. So those are. Enugu State is another interesting area that that we can look at. So when you look at Enugu, Anambra, Ogun State, Lagos is beginning to.
Because it has the highest budgets, highest budget ever for any state.
Lagos has funding. They've taken good financing structure, good financing arrangement. Luckily, the governor himself was from the financial background, so he's able to articulate this. So things are beginning to happen again. The investment community are beginning to get engaged in Lagos, right? Because they have to be competitive. They are budgeting almost ₦1 trillion. Lagos is the 7th largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa. That's Lagos State as a whole, if it were a country.
Richer than perhaps 3-4 states put together. I mean, 4 countries put together.
Yes,
in West Africa.
Definitely. So, but therefore, it has to be managed. The impact of a mismanaged Lagos on the economy is incredible. So you are going to see this happen. Kano State is becoming interesting. Kaduna is going to, apart from their political, becoming quite interesting as well. So you need to have a governance structure that works. You have to have a leadership that understands what macroeconomics and development economics is about.
Right? You've talked about some of these states that are doing fairly well.
Yes.
Lagos, Kano, Ogun State, Kaduna, and the rest.
Enugu, Anambra.
And Enugu, Anambra. We will talk about those ones that are not really doing well and what they need to be doing. Ekiti, Kwara, Taraba, and some of these states.
You see, in a class of 36, if 5 or 6 people are doing well, every other person is, the pass mark is so low because every other person is a failure. So picking out a couple of failures is no, let's face it, we've taken about 5 or 6.
The problem of the revenue that comes to them really is a major weakness for them.
But even the states that are doing well are the ones that even have lower revenues but are managed properly. So revenue may not be the cause of the problem. There are governance issues and there are issues of capacity.
All right. We take a moment. And when we return, the question is for any governor that is watching or its followers that are watching, their followers that are watching right now, all hands must be on deck. What should be done, even by the federal government, to get this nation back running? That's a further conversation we'll be having with Mr. Bismarck Rewane when we return from this break. Join us again. Many thanks for staying with us, everyone. We've been talking about just how Nigeria's federating units can get working. Some people will say, fiscal federalism. What does that mean in the situation where a nation is in recession? Can you politically say you want to get those kind of governance and policy issues on the ground? Constitutionalism And the issues of the law are also a major part of all of these issues. But what does this matter anyway to the man and the woman on the street? What matters to them is just how they can get food on the table. The grammar being spoken by politicians or people in government does not matter to them. What matters to them is how they can pay the fees of their children, how they can get around with their businesses, and just how good the climate of investment and businesses are for them. Those are some of the issues that we've been talking about with the Nigerian economist, Mr. Bismarck Rewane. We've been talking about just how some of these states can get off the ground and fly into the skies to get their states running again. 2017, I see that some of these states need to get running. I've seen some states that are now commercially marketing and selling some of their agricultural produce, and which gives me some joy over the Christmas and the New Year celebrations. I had the joy to eat some of those locally produced rice, intentionally wanting to patronize them. Is this a good way to start in any case?
Well, the governments are not in the business of selling food stuff and all of that. I think that's a misappropriation of their resources. If you create the right environment, people will produce rice in your state and sell it. It's not the government's responsibility to be selling rice or selling sugar.
It's not a good investment.
No, it's a complete, it's a misdirection.
For example, the Lake Rice, Lagos and Kebbi State.
Look, that's not the job of government. Do you see New York State selling rice? No, the government is to create an environment for people to work and to mobilize and do that. But let me come back. You see, one of the things is that the state governments are being given money at 305 naira to $1 when it's being converted, when the market rate is somewhere far. If you reform the foreign exchange market so that the state governments and the federal government begins to get the true value of the true naira equivalent of the dollars that are earned, it will help to bridge part of this problem. So three things will happen. One, there's an increase in oil production. Two, there's an increase in oil price, so the oil revenues are increased. Then thirdly, there's a reformed foreign exchange market which gives them the true value of the dollars that they earn. That way, some of the temporary gaps of the hemorrhaging will stop. But more important is that the fact that government has to focus on what government does. First of all, it's too large. All of these commissioners, all of these special assistants, all of these, members of the, State House of Assembly. These states and this country is overgoverned. Chief Obafemi Awolowo ran Western Region all the way from Ikeja all the way down to Delta State. With how many, 9 or 10 commissioners? In those 8 or 9 states that constitute the former Western Region, you have over 300 to 400. You have thousands of government workers who, under the former Western Region, who at that time had no oil, had just cocoa and rubber and palm oil, were able to provide scholarships for every student from that region abroad in the best universities in the world, and they could afford it. So it is. I do not think there's a resource problem. I think there's a management problem. There's also a capacity problem, and there's a sense of honesty. There's a lot of dishonest leadership, dysfunctional political systems, and we've seen that in many of the states. The state I was talking about, which is in the Niger Delta, has a completely dysfunctional political system.
Well, we hope for the best in 2017. We must leave it at that. Mr. Bismarck Rewane, many thanks for your interventions. Always a pleasure talking to you on some of these issues. Many thanks. Many thanks also for being such a great company on the program. We hope that you get a perspective and insight into some of these issues so you get the right decision and the right action as it's